Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Bled Festival Hall, the 2019 Bled Strategic Forum.
Resources. For thousands of years, they have defined the course of civilization. Wars have been fought over them, and progress has been fueled by them. As the gap between the scarcity of resources and the needs of the increasing world population is growing wider, the resulting problems are becoming ever more complex and urgent. The question arises whether we are approaching the point of no return, the moment when planetary overshoot will catch up with humankind, eventually leading to the collapse of civilization as we know it. For example, in the last 5,000 years, more than 600 armed conflicts and wars over water sources have been recorded. Due to climate change and increased demand, violent clashes over water could become even more common in the future. Not unlike water disputes, the struggle to control oil and gas resources has triggered numerous conflicts around the world. Although it is estimated that global reserves of oil and gas will last for at least another 50 years, the use of fossil fuels is also the primary cause of climate change, another ominous source of instability. Nevertheless, there are other resources at our disposal. Knowledge, technology, and innovation have defied the limits of the physical world time and time again. The human capacity to generate ideas and adapt to resource scarcities has been the backbone of progress through much of our history. However, can we generate enough new ideas to prevent scarcity from affecting our well-being at a time when the indicators of the human impact on the planet seem to be going through the roof? Some say that even with exceptional new social and technological solutions, the laws of nature will eventually make it impossible to compensate for the effects of resource depletion. But why not take the visionary route and keep reaching for new horizons? For example, the amount of energy that reaches the Earth from the Sun in a single hour is more than the entire world consumes in a year. Effectively harnessing that virtually unlimited source of power could solve the energy problem once and for all. Social and technical innovations, making possible enhanced forms of circular and equitable economies, could make issues like poverty, water stress, and mineral shortages a thing of the past. As utopian as these ideas might seem, we should not underestimate the power of human creativity. Not just the knowledge resources at hand today, but also the immense and still untapped potential of underprivileged groups in developing countries and elsewhere. By providing access to quality education for all, by promoting research in relevant fields, and by encouraging new ideas, we might still be able to reverse the trends and transform resources of instability into sources of stability. Time, however, is running out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary General of the Bled Strategic Forum, Mr. Peter Girk.
Dear President, Prime Minister, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 14th edition of the Bled Strategic Forum. Before my introduction, let me first apologize for the traffic delays. It seems that everybody would like to go to the Bled Strategic Forum and our roads can't take it anymore, but we'll fix this next year. So my sincere apologies. My introduction will be very short since we have an unbelievable line of speakers, and I would like to thank them all for coming. And because I fear that BSF, our director, is going to switch off my microphone because we are already late according to our timetable. When we were discussing this year about the theme of the forum, there was one thought which was lingering in the background, and it came up always and always. When did we stop caring about ourselves, about our well-being? When did we decide to trade long-term goals for short-term goals? Today, when the planet is burning, when our societies are torn and divided, when democracy is at stake, we somehow lost the ability to care about our future and the future of the ones who are coming after us. If we would care, we would be aware that it's not about saving nature, it's not about saving the forests and our planet. They will be fine with or without us. It's about saving ourselves, you and me, my son, your granddaughter, our grandchildren. If we would understand that, we would be selfish in fighting for the future. We would embrace sustainable development and try to act inclusively in order to bring all facets of our society around the same table and act. So one thought which I want to leave with you before I announce our next speaker. We are all in the same lake. You can call it Bled if you want. And it's time that you, me, and everybody else recognizes this simple fact. With this short introduction, let me now welcome our host, His Excellency Dr. Miro Cerar, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia, to deliver his welcome address. Mr. Minister, please, the floor is yours.
Dear President, dear Prime Minister, dear colleagues, ministers, distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, for whom the Bled bell tolls. It tolls for you and me and each of us. When Slovenia launched the Bled Strategic Forum way back in 2006, we were aiming for something valuable, different, and relevant, not just for our foreign policy, but for the wider world. We had the enthusiasm of a newborn country that wanted to leave its mark on the global map of policy ideas. In today's highly connected world, there are many ways one can contribute to common efforts. Since no man is an island, we always felt that the only bell at our only island here at Bled should resonate globally and for each of us. Our mission statement, our key priority, and the reason why every September we invite more than 1,000 participants from all over the world to join us here at Bled is one concept in 2 words: sustainable development. Although this idea is shared and supported by almost everybody in the international community, be it individual countries, regions, governments, corporations, or citizens, we are still very far from translating these 2 words into practice, because every idea comes at a cost. Are we ready as a society to pay this cost, which at the end will be far less than the cost of not doing anything? Climate change is not something that you can push into some box or some region and leave there. Climate change is and will be affecting everybody, including you and me. This is why we need to talk about the responsibility to put words into practice. It is not going to work if the burden of going sustainable and green falls on the shoulders of those who are already struggling now to cope with the changes in the globalized world. We have so many comprehensive deals, from Kyoto to Paris. What we need now is the will to implement the deal, to incorporate sustainability into every pore of society. This is why this year at the Bled Strategic Forum, we will not only discuss the need to go sustainable, but also propose clear plans how to act accordingly. We cannot discuss clean water without acknowledging the right to it. And that's why we have enshrined this right in our Constitution. Democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights are not an appendage or consequence of development. They are the fundamentals of any serious and effective debate on climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, Slovenia's most important natural environment is the European Union. Do not get me wrong. I'm not preaching some cheap Eurocentrism to our global friends and competitors, but the fact is that Slovenia feels the EU to be its natural surroundings, its habitat. This is why the state of the European Union will be at the center of discussions during the forum. The newly elected EU leaders need to show determination and responsibility during a time of growing uncertainties in the global arena, Brexit, and challenging internal issues. This is why we need political wisdom, leadership, and European solutions, which will also include countries with prospects for EU membership. The B in BSF, of course, stands for Bled, but it could also stand for bold and Balkans. Being bold about the Balkans and its EU enlargement has always been a special feature at the Bled Strategic Forum. It is in Slovenia's vital and strategic interest for the countries of the region to achieve irreversible stability and prosperity and become members of the EU as soon as possible. We are aware that in the current geopolitical context, with major powers seriously weighing up the region again, enlargement will be under immense pressure, and the need to deliver on the reforms of candidate countries will be greater than ever. However, when the region delivers, the EU should also be brave and daring enough to move forward. A negative decision regarding enlargement can have a negative cascading effect all across the Western Balkans. Yes, the EU should be strict, but first to ourselves, and we should stick to our promises and pledges when the time comes. If we do not act in this way, it will be our failure and responsibility if we lose the region. What we need is a region that is reforming, that is developing and adopting European values and norms. It will be very difficult, of course, if not impossible, to reignite the European passion among the citizens of the region if we blow out the candle of prospects for EU membership and hope. Other actors, other players are more than ready to fill this void. In a way, this is already happening. The Western Balkans is a geostrategic arena, and the EU and the region cannot afford to lose. Migration flows are one of the issues where the EU will stand or fall. Nobody is under the illusion that migration is not a serious issue and consequentially a generational one. But we need to look at it in a comprehensive and objective manner. Of course, this is a security question, but in equal terms, it is also a question of demography and opportunities. In solving these issues, Slovenia, as a Schengen country, respects European norms and values. As one of my fellow foreign ministers said, you first need to control your borders to decide how open they are. We must be aware that people of the world will continue migrating. What we need to insist on is the respect for democratic standards, rule of law, and the respect of our culture. When talking about geostrategic questions, we must mention a gradual but irreversible reshaping of power in the international arena, which will have long-lasting consequences for our common future. Multilateralism is in danger. For countries like Slovenia, a functioning multilateral framework is essential in order to safeguard and guarantee our sustainable and secure livelihood. However, this doesn't apply to small countries only. Even the biggest powers rely so heavily on multilateralism that by thwarting it, we thwart the destiny of the world as we know it. There are many more challenges, of course, and questions that you will discuss at this edition of the Bled Strategic Forum. Looking at the impressive list of speakers, panelists, and important guests, I'm very proud that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with the Center for European Perspective, was able to combine all of these in a two-day agenda. Distinguished guests, dear friends, if you find a moment to go to the island and ring the bell for luck, please do not forget that no man is an island. We create our common future only together, respectfully engaged. So, do not ask for whom the Bled bell tolls. It rings for the planet. Only through diversity of thoughts and responsible attitudes can we arrive at comprehensive and viable solutions for our common future. So welcome to Slovenia, where discussion and debate are valued and different opinions are shared and cherished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your words. Before I announce our next speaker, I have to humbly thank our partners whose support for our mission and goals is the only reason I'm standing here today. Thank you very much. Especially, I would like to thank our 5 strategic partners: Generali, Ricoh, the Boston Consulting Group, Telecom, and our new partner, Toyota. Welcome to the BSF family. I would also like to show my appreciation and our appreciation to the institutional partners, far too many to mention them all. They are our building blocks and the essence of what we want to be: inclusive, comprehensive, and society-changing forum. Let me thank my team: Matej, Neža, Urška, Manca, Roman, Ines, Center for European Perspective, volunteers, and all other people who made this event possible. With this, I would like to welcome to the floor His Excellency Mr. Marjan Šarec, Prime Minister of the Republic of Slovenia. Please, Prime Minister.
Distinguished guests, presidents, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome you to Bled and address you at the Bled Strategic Forum 2019. Slovenia is proud to host this conference, which brings together representatives of today's most prominent opinion shapers and decision makers. In this part of the world, we are not afraid of tackling the most pertinent topics and concerns. We are aware that they must be discussed in an open manner and in a spirit of collaboration. Finding solution might not be the easiest part, but it certainly is the most democratic and sustainable part. I'm proud that Bled Strategic Forum provides such an opportunity. This year, I see the Bled Strategic Forum as all about stability versus instability. I genuinely expect that the discussions which will take place today and tomorrow will be honest and action-orientated. We must acknowledge that we are running out of time for positive actions. These are needed in order to make sure that the next generations can be ensured a safe, stable, and prosperous future. When discussing factors of instability and ways to fight them, it is my firm belief that today stability and security are tied more than ever to sustainability. Therefore, sustainability now could also be the motto of the present BSF discussions. We, the leaders and politicians, are amongst those that carry the biggest share of responsibility. We must be constantly aware that the decisions that are taken will mark the future of national and global policies. And since confidence in politics is not at its highest level, it will only be positive actions that will count. This said, allow me to outline some of my thoughts, as I also wish to provide some food for thought for the BSF discussions later today and tomorrow. I will divide my point into three concentric circles: global, EU, and national. I will focus on the importance of ensuring stability and security through sustainability. First of all, I believe we are all out of time for partial action. There is an urgent need for a unified and coordinating approach towards global challenges. Clear recognition of scientific facts and immediate actions are needed regarding climate change, water supplies, and food security, if I only name and start with the most pressing issues. The fight against terrorism must continue. Preventive actions and coordination must go hand in hand. This is why Slovenia actively contributes through what is called integrative internal security governance, and also by taking part in awareness-raising initiatives to eliminate terrorist and violent extremist content online. As a country which is also a NATO member, I believe that traditional security will inevitably remain central, but adapting to modern pressures such as cybersecurity and hybrid threats must be a standard. Multilateralism and overreaching respect for human rights are topics which I expect will be discussed in depth. For Slovenia, it is hard to imagine a world without respect for multilateralism, international law, norms, and standards. We should cherish, guard, and upgrade what we have achieved so far. Polarized politics and policies cannot be effective or sustainable. Unilateralism cannot be the answer. This is relevant also in the context of dealing with mass migration. It is not a new challenge, and it is not one that can simply be stopped overnight. Therefore, managing mass migration and our responses to this phenomenon is a task that we have to take on responsibility from the point of view of human rights and solidarity. The world today is different from yesterday, and the world tomorrow will be profoundly different than the world we live in today. But this does not mean that everything will have to change. We must continue to cherish our values, societal standards, and democracy. Respect for international agreements, implementation of undertaken obligations, the rule of law, media freedom, and credibility of information should be a must. We cannot let a disregard of everything we agreed become the new normal. I cannot avoid mentioning advancements in technologies. This year, we mark the 500th anniversary of the death of Leonardo da Vinci and 50th anniversary of the moon landing. The pace of humanity's development is staggering. Digitalization, robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation bring many remarkable opportunities and challenges. Timely codification of these areas is crucial, as adapting to the modern era should be done with the aim of ensuring the necessary respect for rights, standards, and adequate social security. All along, our responsibility should be with the young generations. They are all the ones who are already leading the way in necessary action. While being in charge of ensuring positive perspective for youth, we must partner with young leaders and activists who are changing the world. We must learn from their vision and courage and find inspiration in their actions. Of course, when caring for young people, we should not forget about intergenerational dialogue, social dialogue, and a continuous common striving for the inclusive social advancements of all generations. I only mentioned a few challenges. I'm very much aware that a globally coordinated response to the most pertinent ones is not something that can be achieved easily. We all have high expectations, but sometimes reality does not match the ideals. This is why I also believe we are way past the point where we could wait and sleep peacefully with the excuse that nothing can be done unless it is coordinated globally. Continuous waiting for global responses will not ensure change. It is high time for a parallel bottom-up approach. We must start wherever it is possible. We must ensure sustainability on the individual level, on the national level, and on the EU level, and demand it on the global level. This brings me to my second point. For Slovenia, being part of the European Union makes us responsible for decisions and actions taken within the Union. Discussions on the future of the European Union should also be sustainable ones. Slovenia is committed to a strong, cohesive, and united European Union, an area of security and stability that can effectively face the key challenges and threats of contemporary world while ensuring solidarity and the highest standards of human rights and dignity. We need to restore confidence in the EU and its institutions, in fair cooperation and in the rule of law. People must be put in the center of our activities. We are at the beginning of a new institutional and legislative EU cycle. Each such beginning offers an opportunity for a new directions. I expect in the coming period that the EU will be able to ensure future-oriented leadership and be able to bring about inclusive and sustainable social as well as economic change. Slovenia is ready to actively participate in this. To conclude with my third point, our crucial responsibility is to make sure that the Slovenian government has high national ambitions, takes the necessary legal steps, and makes sure that caring for our prosperous common future is engraved in all our actions. We are not afraid to tackle the area of science and modern technologies. The first worldwide UNESCO Artificial Intelligence Research Center is to be established in Slovenia. Slovenia places 12th among 162 countries in this year's report on meeting the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Targets, especially in eliminating extreme forms of poverty and providing access to greener energy sources. These statistics will be taken as a motivation for further work. We cherish the importance of water and its accessibility. Slovenia is one of the first nations to have enshrined the right to drink potable water in its constitution. These are only some of the facts that put Slovenia on the world map of actors, even pioneers. Sustainability will also be a fil rouge of the Slovenian EU Council Presidency 2021. We wish to see an active European Union. We wish to see a vocal European Union, and when we are its face, Slovenia will act accordingly. It is also a strong position of Slovenia that the EU accession of the Western Balkans should take place once conditions for such a step are fulfilled. EU enlargement will naturally be one of the priorities of the Slovenian presidency. This demanding process must not be pushed aside owing to internal discussions on the future of Europe. The Western Balkans is Europe. The EU will not be strong and complete until it is consolidated with the inclusion of the region. Dear Bled Strategic Forum participants, there is much to say and much to discuss. I'm also aware there is much to do. I hope that in the course of the next 2 days, each of us contributes to valuable discussions, but even more importantly, takes away new knowledge and inspiration to be put into actions. I would like to thank all of you for coming to Bled. And last but not least, I would like also to thank the Secretary General of the Bled Strategic Forum and his team for putting together an agenda full of demanding issues which need to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Our next speaker, yesterday she was addressing Young Bled Strategic Forum, and she said one thing. She said that when she was younger, she thought that she could change the world by herself. And today, she knows that she can change it together with the others. With this, let me welcome here at the stage Her Excellency Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garces, President of the 73rd session of UN General Assembly, who will give a keynote address. Please, President.
Good afternoon. Indeed, we cannot change the world by ourselves, unfortunately. So, Your Excellency, Mr. Borut Pahor, President of the Republic of Slovenia, Your Excellency, Ms. Kersti Kalwalaid, President of the Republic of Estonia, and dear friend, Excellency, Mr. Marian Zarek, Prime Minister of the Republic of Slovenia, Excellency, Mr. Miro Cerar, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia, Excellencies, Mr. Peter Gurk, Secretary General of the Bled Strategic Forum, distinguished speakers, youth representatives, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly an honor to participate in this prestigious forum. I am deeply grateful to the President of Slovenia, first of all, for inviting me to beautiful Bled, for enabling me to see dear friends and colleagues from all over the world, for the exemplary support that Slovenia has given to the United Nations, from the important role you play in the Accountability, Coherence and Transparency Group, to your advocacy on issues such as biodiversity and the importance of bees for keeping our ecosystems healthy, and for your commitment and active role in our peace and security efforts. Currently, the UNTSO and UNFIL, where the first woman contingent commander was also from Slovenia, and I feel very proud of that. We need indeed more women in peace and security. So thank you very, very much for that. So it comes as no surprise to see the Bled Strategic Forum go straight to the core of the defining challenges on this turbulent time, and to capture the paradoxical nature of contemporary global affairs so succinctly with the use of two sets of parentheses: resources and instability. Because the greatest challenges we must address, the climate crisis, the disruptive effects of new technologies, rapidly changing demographics, inequality, migration, also offer us the greatest opportunities to reap the benefits of human mobility as we have the mobility of goods and capital, to harness the creativity of youth, to revolutionize our cities, our societies and economies, and to make them safe, fair, and green. Excellencies and dear friends, a desire to close this gap between the future we want and where we currently stand, underpinned in the founding of the United Nations nearly 75 years ago. And we have come a long way since then. Today, we have international laws and mechanisms on almost every aspect of human life and planetary resource. Today, we have the concept of an international community, one that is expected to work together on shared challenges. We have a UN system that feeds over 90 million people every day, that vaccinates nearly half of the world's children, has cleared landmines and eradicated smallpox, and supported the adoption of the Paris Agreement on climate change and the Sustainable Development Goals, what I call our survival kit for humanity, our new social contract. But as we all know, too many of us still endure violence and material shortages. Even more troubling, the gains we have made are now at risk as a confluence of crises, environmental, political, economic, and social, is driving conflict and instability. So, how can we move forward? I believe there are three areas that we need to address. The first, of course, is climate change. We urgently need to increase our ambition. We urgently need to unlock the benefits of climate-smart development, with the Global Commission on the Economy and Climate estimates could be as much as $26 trillion in the next decade if we do it right. We need to use opportunities such as the September Climate Action Summit to focus on the most transformative, scalable steps we can take immediately to tip the scale back in our favor. Wiser public and private investment in low-carbon sectors, green jobs, new energy matrices, better urban planning for greater resilience, just to name a few. The second very important issue is the fraying of the social contract, which no longer seems credible given the waning ability or seemingly inability of governments to protect their citizens and promote their welfare. I am certainly not someone who believes the days of the nation state are numbered. Far from it. But today, there is virtually no problem that does not require global cooperation. That is obvious when it comes to issues like climate change and violent extremism. But it's also increasingly true of traditionally domestic issues, such as fiscal balances and job creation. And we are now at a point when the gains we have made in previous decades are slowing, even reversing. Add to that the fact that these gains were never distributed equally, and you have a lot of unsatisfied constituents and growing inequalities. Millions have been excluded from the promised gains of globalization. 840 million without access to safe water. 820 without sufficient food. 2 billion with no access to improved sanitation, and some 4 billion without adequate health care. And you have a younger generation, the largest, most educated in history, that worries it will be less well off than its parents. Youth unemployment is already high and could worsen if we don't get to grips with the fourth industrial revolution. The World Bank estimates that automation could put 2/3 of jobs in developing countries at risk. The result of all of this is growing disconnect between people, governments, and institutions as they lose faith in our capacity and will to deliver with them and for them. As this is contributing to the final tipping point I would like to make this evening, the health of our international system. We have seen a rise in nationalist sentiment, in unilateral approaches, in attacks on international laws and norms. The complexity of the challenges we face has opened the door for those who promised simplistic solutions, who peddle an insular vision of nationalism. As we know only too well, these trends can lead to war. And this time, war could wipe us out through nuclear weapons, but also by preventing action on the climate emergency or in eradicating poverty or countering terrorism. Excellencies and dear friends, multilateralism is not only urgent, it is a matter of survival. It is the only way we can tackle the challenges we face. And it is the best ways for states to pursue their national interests by sharing the costs, the risks, and burdens with others. We must make this case vigorously to political leaders. We also need an international rules-based system that is predictable, that is strong, and reliable. And we must do more to convince ordinary people that the multilateral system can deliver for them. That has been the challenge I have set for this session of the General Assembly. The theme for this session has been to make the United Nations relevant for all. And I firmly believe that the best way to achieve this is to realize the Sustainable Development Goals and to harness the opportunities that the transition to carbon zero will bring. This must be our aim for the crucial meetings that will take place during High-Level Week at the UN later this month. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we approach the 75th anniversary of the United Nations next year, I hope that all of us, governments, business, academia, civil society, and youth, will work together to make the case for multilateralism and to make the UN more inclusive, more transparent, more accountable and effective for we, the peoples, that very powerful first phrase of the UN Charter. Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, a renowned diplomat of India and the first female president of the UN General Assembly in 1953, and a visionary, stated that, and I quote her, "We cannot think in terms of national issues. That has been disastrous in the past. In the future, we need a wider vision and international rather than national perspectives. I appeal to you to consider matters from a wider view, thinking of the world as one family where each nation can contribute to the welfare and strength of the other." End of quote. And today, more than 60 years later, her call is so pertinent and so much needed. Today we have a golden opportunity to talk the talk, to revitalize our narratives and our commitments, and it is one we can ill afford to miss. So I commend you for beginning this conversation today in this forum, and I look forward to engaging with you throughout the forum. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Mr.